Your integrity, shown by your resignation, puts others to shame. You shone a spotlight on the failures of the government's foreign policy. Former Northern Ireland Secretary Mo Mowlam.
Welcome back to an Inside Iraq special from London, where my guest is Clare Short, MP. When you resigned, you said one of the reasons that you gave, what we have here is a presidential type system with the automatic majority in Parliament. Is that an exaggeration, or is that a real and accurate depiction the way Tony Blair ruled, or at least during those 6 years that you were with him?
It's an accurate description, and as I say, the Butler report described it similarly. Sofa-style government, everything in Tony Blair's informal office, just with his entourage, never discussing things properly in cabinet, decisions not properly and thoroughly considered. So it was very personalised, and then there's a big...
From the get-go, from the day he became Prime Minister back in '97, or did he, for the lack of better words, degenerate into this presidential type of diktats later on?
It was always very presidential in style, but he adopted early on the agenda that had been in Labour's previous policy document. So he was very focused on the media and making announcements and so on. So it was always very personalised, no collective, no thorough discussion. But of course it became more arrogant and more manipulative as we went on.
That must have rubbed you the wrong way, as well as your colleagues.
I didn't like it. I was busy running my department. He wasn't interfering much with me. I used to make my discussions in the cabinet, but the cabinet meetings were very, very short. Nothing was ever thoroughly discussed. Everyone had to relate to Tony individually.
And yet, when he commented about you, he said that with all honesty, Clare Short created this international development cabinet post from scratch. So he was very much acknowledging what your contribution to the cabinet, to the country is, but he differed with you on the war.
Absolutely. Well, the Department for International Development became a very good, effective organisation, working across the world to try and help poorer countries and poor people have a better chance in the future. And Tony is always charming. It's part of his political power, even when he's really angry, and really, if his people are briefing the media to be nasty to you, he will always be charming, because people like...
Charming or manipulative, would you say?
Manipulative, charming.
Okay. When you resigned, there was a quote that I looked on the internet. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see if you said it or not. You said, when I resign, I'm going to bring down Tony Blair with me. Did you say that?
No, I certainly didn't say that. But I did say that I thought Tony should go soon. I mean, it is my view that there was deceit, that it's brought Labour into disrepute, it's dishonoured Britain, both because it wasn't just a mistake, there were also lots of lies and lots of bad faith and bad motive and not really what was said. So it was my view that the Labour Party needed to clean up the mess by asking Tony to go. So I never said I will bring him down, but I said it is my view that we need to clean up the mess, face the truth, and ask Tony to step aside and get ourselves a new leader.
Perhaps you didn't say that, but you said that 10 Downing Street orchestrated a vicious campaign against you. Is that true?
I don't know that I said those words, but there's no doubt, and everyone who lives around the Westminster Village...
I think it was in reference to the House of Commons Defence Committee, when they said perhaps your contribution or your department's contribution is constrained in the post-invasion period simply because of your views regarding the war.
I think that maybe there are people in the government system who want to pretend that it all went wrong for that reason. But if that were really true, so if Tony Blair is saying to me, his Secretary of State, who has responsibility for working with the rest of the international system for any post-conflict situation, he's telling me there won't be a war, but really there will be a war, or if he thinks I'm an obstacle, he should have told me to go.
The war was based on lies. The question now, why Britain, why Tony Blair joined President Bush? I mean, there was enough and solid information that Tony Blair could have backed out. Was he his own man? Was he able to say to President Bush no, or was he a willing partner?
My own view is that the Iraq pre-war was in a terrible state because of sanctions. It would have been right, when we now know that the neocons wanted to go to Iraq to have bases to control the Gulf, and that was really what the policy was about. What Blair should have done is talked to the French, the Germans, the Russians and everybody else and said, look, America's determined to go to Iraq. Let's all stick together and make sure we do this right, that we go through the UN, that we indict Saddam Hussein for war crimes and let the people of Iraq get him to The Hague, just as happened with Milosevic, and let's internationalise the reconstruction. I think Blair could have constrained what Bush did and could have made sure that the outcome was good for the people of Iraq. But he just gave his word unconditionally, secretly, didn't tell the rest of the government, and said to Bush, we'll be with you anyway.
In that case, when you view your colleagues, whether within the cabinet or in the larger Labour Party, you dissented, you resigned, same as Robin Cook. Why did the others stay and why did you leave? Or better still, wouldn't it have been much better for you to stay within the cabinet and try to change from within, as suppose you are now on the outside?
Well, I tried to stay, didn't I, to prevent the disaster of the aftermath. But I couldn't go on because my Prime Minister had looked me in the eye and lied to me about what we were going to do. And I couldn't stay in the government because if it's one of the centrepieces of its policy is continuing with an Iraq policy that you know is based on lies and is causing enormous suffering and mayhem in the Middle East. I couldn't defend that. You can't stay in a government if you can't defend one of the centrepieces of its policy. Why did other colleagues not resign?
Why?
People love power. And
Is that it? Is that it? Just power?
I think so.
They would like to be within the cabinet and they would like what comes with it.
It's so out of tune with Labour's traditions, and you know, Labour was against the British Empire, supported the independence of India, opposed the Suez Adventure. You know, we've always been for the UN and for international law. And suddenly, not only that Blair did this with Bush, the Labour Party swallowed it and let him get away with it.
One thing you wanted to achieve, one thing you think the British system of governance should be, is to have a hung party. Explain to those who do not understand, what does a hung party mean and why do you strive for it? What does that mean?
Well, what I'm saying is that one of the things that's happened in Britain under Thatcher and then even worse under Blair is enormous arrogance, big total control from number 10 Downing Street, no consultation with anyone. It's not just foreign policy, it's also on the health service and education and so on. And then very great patronage power over MPs. You can either make them ministers, send them to the House of Lords, and everything is just shoved through Parliament, not discussed, not scrutinised, no consensus, and it's leading to a dishonesty and very bad decision-making. And I'm saying if we went back to a Parliament with very small majorities, or even better, with no one party with an overall majority, then you'd have a different kind of Tony Blair, a different kind of Prime Minister that would have to discuss and consider and assemble a majority. And also, we might change our electoral system. Because, you know, Blair only got 1/3 of the votes in 2005. If he had only 1/3 of the seats in Parliament...
Ms. Short, Tony Blair perhaps is going to leave the political scene in less than 2 weeks. Gordon Brown is going to be the British Prime Minister. He was saying that there are no WMDs. How do you look at and your assessment of Gordon Brown? Will he take the decision to pull the British troops out of Iraq? Will he leave President Bush? Or what we know about him, he's very much enamored with the American system of life and American politics. Will he stay with President Bush?
This is the big interesting question, of course, because it's only a matter of days till he takes over. Gordon Brown is very pro-American, but closer to the Democrats than the Republicans, and he's very clever. And the Iraq War is still very unpopular in Britain, and there's a lot of distrust and contempt for politicians because of all the lies. So will he, in order to be smart, pull back the British troops, say we're going to do more in Afghanistan or something like that, and sort of stick with the Democrats and not mind about falling out with Bush? Possibly. If he was wise, he would, because it would make him popular. And of course, he wants to not just be Prime Minister for a couple of years and then go. He wants to win the subsequent election. So we're going to see.
Ms. Short, my final question to you. You were attacked by your colleagues as well as many people here in this country when you suggested or perhaps alleged that the British intelligence bugged the offices of UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. Why did you say that, and was that based on solid information?
Well, it wasn't bugged, it's spied on, just to be accurate. Absolutely solid information, there's no question about it, and it had been going on for some time. But when the British were manipulating with the Americans against Kofi Annan's advice on the legality of war, I thought Kofi needed to know. And we had this scandal about a young woman who was being arrested for exposing British ideas of bugging the non-permanent members of the Security Council. So when that row was on, I thought I'd take the chance to reveal that this was being done in order to bring it to an end.
My thanks to Clare Short, and we hope you have enjoyed this, our special program from London. To access the show and to send us your comments, please go to aljazeera.net/English. From all of the team here on Inside Iraq from London, goodbye.